Now, buying wine can be an overwhelming experience. There are so many different options, different colors, different countries, different styles. Overwhelming to say the least. So we're here to help decipher some of the mysteries on what's on the front of a bottle of wine to help you find the next wine that you're gonna love. The way we're gonna do this, we're gonna go through 3 different bottles and decipher what's actually on the front of them and the back of them to help you understand what's actually in it, if you're gonna like it, and then hopefully the next time you go to a bottle shop when there's 200 wines on the wall, less of an anxiety-inducing experience and something you can go into with confidence. Now, welcome to Bottle Shock. Let's get into it. All right, so 3 bottles of wine here. And we're gonna break this down into 3 different kind of categories. One is a New World bottle of wine. This is the easiest. Then we're gonna have an Old World bottle of wine, which is the more traditional and needs a little bit of required knowledge. And then we've got something that I've been dreading, the German wine bottle, and the German wine classification that exists within it, which is one of the most complicated things in the entire world. It's all there for a reason, but many challenging reasons. Let's dive into the first one. This is our New World wine. Naturally, we've gone with a wine from Australia. This is the Domaine Naturalist Florist 2023 Margaret River Chardonnay. Now, what are the things that are always on a wine label? Number 1, who made it? That would be Domaine Naturalist. Fun thing about this one, it also says by Bruce Jukes, who is the name of the winemaker. Then, vintage. This is the year that the grapes were grown. And the year for this is 2023. Not too new, but not too old. It's still quite young in the world of wine, so it'll be a lot more primary fruited, but it's not super young. So acids might be softer, tannins might be gentler. I know this is a white wine, but structure might be a little bit more kind of cohesive, and you might start to see some tertiary or secondary flavors start to peak out. So it might be a little bit more nutty, might be a little bit more earthy. So if you like fresher, primary fruit forward wines that are juicier, look for younger wines. If you like more savory, rustic, earthy wines, look for something that's a bit older. And then third, where was it grown? Now, this is Margaret River. So that is an Australian wine region, amazing region on the western area, south of Perth. They are very famous for grapes like Chardonnay. They're also known for Cabernets, other things like that. Chenin Blanc as well. That is an identifier of what makes this wine special from something that's, say, an Adelaide Hills Chardonnay, an Australian Chardonnay, but from a different region, and that climate's gonna be different, so the grape's gonna taste different. Those are the kind of key things you'll see on every single bottle of wine, no matter where it's from. Who made it, what year it was made, and where it was made, or at least where the grapes are grown. What are the unique identifiers about this wine? So you've got florist. That's a really interesting thing. That's actually the winemaker's name for this. This helps wineries kind of identify one wine from another. Someone like Domaine Naturalist, who actually makes many different Chardonnays, this is a different Chardonnay than another Chardonnay in their line. This could be an identifier of price or style or region or things like that, but a lot of producers use this as a signatory of that wine is different from another wine you've had from them. Then there is a whole bunch of legal stuff that you need on a label. You need a pregnancy warning to say that if you drink alcohol, it can do lifelong damage to your child. We won't go too deep into that. Then there's also wine of Australia. So even though it says it's from Margaret River, it also helps you to go, it's actually grown in the country of Australia. Most wines will say that it's from a particular country to make it a little bit easier for you to understand where exactly in the world it was from. It's got alcohol volume. It needs to declare how much booze is in it so you can control how much you're drinking before driving and things like that. It also needs to declare how much liquid is in the bottle itself. This is a 750 ml bottle, which is 95 to 98% of wine bottles. You can get smaller ones, you can get bigger ones, you can get half bottles, magnums, 500 mils, things like that. And then also some countries do standard drinks. So this says 7.6 standard drinks. So if you're driving, you can only have 1 or 2 before and wait an hour before you can drive. So it helps with that. Then other things, you've got a blurb, which a lot of New World countries do to understand the story, who made it, what it tastes like. This actually has tasting notes. It says it tastes like white grapefruit, nectarine, and subtle oak. There's a lot number, which is a legal requirement for some countries to identify exactly what batch that the wine is from. For small producers, they just generally chuck on lot 2023 or 23, which identifies the year it was made. For larger producers, there'll be lot 23.1.2, things like that. So there's different batches and blends from different places and things like that. And then there's also the legal address of where the wine came from and who made it. So basically you can chase up if something happens to your wine, whether it's faulty or it's trying to kill you. And speaking of trying to kill you, they have to have allergens. This says contains sulfites, which this one I expect to have added sulfur, but no matter if it wasn't added, wine labels have to declare that sulfites are in it because all wines have sulfur. Some are added, some are not added. That's stylistically dependent, but sulfites are an allergen for a lot of people, so it needs to be declared. And that's also where you see things like this wine contains milk or egg or fish. Those are fining agents, but they're also allergens, so that must be declared. So that's kind of like everything that goes onto a bottle of wine that helps you or needs to be there. Let's go to the old world. Alrighty, Domaine Huet Vouvray from 2023. So as you can see, those are the three key things on this wine. Who made it, where it's from, and the vintage. Who made it? Domaine Huet. Where is it from? Vouvray. What year was it made? 2023. Again, those three kind of key things are still here. Now with the old world, there is a bit more required knowledge because you're probably going, if you don't know too much about wine, how do you know Vouvray is where it's from? There's a lot of words on this label. Now, how do I know that's French? Well, luckily it also helps me that it says product of France. Again, much like wine of Australia, product of France is on there to tell you that it came from one particular country. But wine region is probably the most important thing to research before you're buying a wine, to know exactly what's in it and what it's going to taste like, because a Vouvray is going to taste different to, let's say, a Burgundy. They're going to be a different grape, even though they're from the same country. So that's the kind of required knowledge or pre-research you need to do before buying a bottle of wine. So I know that Vouvray is Chenin Blanc, which I love, so I'm going to buy this one. But it also says sec. Right next to it. So sec is actually an indication of dryness. Level of sugar, so this has got very, very little sugar so the wine doesn't taste too sweet. Then you can get demi-sec, which is more sweet. We'll talk about sweetness a little bit further on down the line when we get to Germany. Name of the wine, Le Haut Lieu. Please don't come at me with my pronunciation, I'm doing my best. That's the unique identifier from Domaine Huet because they've got a lot of different wines and they're all Chenin Blancs. That's probably the vineyard or something unique about that particular spot where the grapes are grown. Now, alcohol percentage is here as well. And then we've also got a couple of other different things. So Appellation Contrôlée, that's the legal identification that says that this is under the exact set rules of the Vouvray AOC, so the French wine law of that particular region, which is saying it must be Chenin Blanc to a certain amount, alcohol levels, things like that. We could go down the deep specific details of that particular region, but it's basically saying that the region has said that this is a typical wine from that area. As you can see, the grape variety is not listed on this label. And that's because the old world, particularly in a lot of European wine producing areas, they care more about the place than they do about the grape variety. That's their marketing tool, whereas in the new world, like Australia, we focus on the grape variety as the marketing tool. If we want to get down to crazy detail and complexity, we're going to do that with the German wine classification. Now, this is the 2022 Dr. Lutzen Herziger Würzgarten. Again, please don't come at me for my pronunciation, I'm doing my best. This is a wine from Germany. How do I know that? Because it says produce of Germany on the label. Now, let's go through the three key things again. Who made it? Dr. Lutzen. What year was it made? 2022. There on the label. Where is it from? Well, it's not on the front label, but it is on the back. It says produce of Germany, and then it also says Moselle as well. So that is the region within Germany. It's a little bit harder to understand this label on the front, but on the back, there's heaps of detail we're about to go through. Interesting to note, Riesling is back on the list. That's a unique thing for Germany. When they make it really complicated with all these different rules, at least they do something for you to make it a little bit easy to understand. They need to put the variety on the front of the label. Actually, this is really cool. Herziger Würzgarten. So that's actually the vineyard, and it's a very famous vineyard in the Mosel. Mostly has Riesling planted there, so why is this a different Riesling? Why is this a special Riesling? That's why it's got the vineyard on the front. We can go to the back now with all this crazy, crazy information. Baseline things, yep, it's got the alcohol percentage on it. It's got how much is in it. It's got the pregnancy label. It's got contains sulfites. Contains approximately 8 standard drinks. It's imported to Australia by Cellahan, so that's who you can chase after if you've got a bad bottle. Things like that. It's even got a blurb, which is rare for a lot of wines, particularly imports. So that's really fun. Now, up the top, Riesling dry. In Germany, you have to specify the sweetness. You have to either specify that it's trocken, which is dry, herb trocken, or fine herb. Basically, you have to say, is it sweet? Is it kind of sweet, or is it more sweet? Then you also have to indicate the ripeness. There are many different ripening terms. Cabernet, Spätlese, Auslese, Beerenauslese, and Trockenbeerenauslese. That's all based on the must weight. So how much sugar is based in the wine's must when it's just been pressed. So that's potential alcohol is kind of part of that as well. Now, forgive me, I'm gonna have to read this. The VDP is Verband Deutsche Prädikatsweinguter. So that is basically an association that classifies wine in a different way. They have 4 different classifications, and it's very similar to kind of the way the French do things, which is through crus. Now the VDP has 4 classifications themselves. We've got Gutswein, Ortswein, Erste Lage, and Grosse Lage. And then within Grosse Lage, we also have Gross Gewachs. There is crazy detail with German wine, which makes it an absolute pain for a lot of people studying it. It also helps categorize Riesling in a certain way. German Riesling can be so vast and varied in its style. Basically, they're using this very complex classification system to kind of particular subcategory within it. Think of it as music genres. You've got punk music, then you've got hardcore punk, pop punk, all these different things. You've got like English punk. They're basically trying to cut them down into little segments so you can understand exactly what that wine is like. But you need to understand exactly what that wine is like. And that takes a lot of research. Even I struggle with it. It is very, very complex. Let's get back to our wine. Riesling Dry GG. So this is a Gross Gewachs. So this is a Grosse Lage vineyard. So this is the equivalent of a Grand Cru, which is the Oetzinger Wurzgarten vineyard is a Grand Cru vineyard in the Mosel. Now, since it's a Gross Gewachs, that actually means that this wine is dry, which it has specified beforehand by saying that it's dry, but GG wines have to be dry. So if it doesn't actually say dry, GG indicates that the wine is dry. So it says GG and VDP Grosse Lage from the Mosel, which is the vineyard. It's got stuff like old vines. So this also says Qualitätswein, which is basically the quality level that German wine falls under. So you've got 4 German quality levels, which you've got Deutsche wine, which is essentially their table wine, which just comes all across Germany. They even allow stuff that's actually not grown in Germany to be called Deutsche wine. Then they've got land wine, which basically comes from one region. It literally translates to region wines. So above land wine, you've got Qualitätswein, which is where this sits. Then this has to come from a protected area like the Mosel. That's when you can start getting into different vineyards, then when you get different into GG and things like that. And then you've got Prädikatswein, which is quality wine that has specific qualities. And then that's why we start to talk about the must weights. It has to be at Prädikatswein level when you can start talking about must weights. And that's when you start seeing Spätlese, Trockenbeerenauslese. It's got unique characteristics that take it above the Qualitätswein level. So hopefully that is a summation that makes you understand a bottle of German Riesling somewhat, and hopefully those things actually made you understand 3 different labeling conventions in wine a little bit further. It's quite challenging. There is a lot of intricacies, small details and differences, a little bit of research with a little bit of required learning. Hopefully this makes your next bottle shop experience a little bit less anxious, and you'll find a new wine that you now kind of understand that is your new favorite. So hope you guys enjoyed. We'll see you next time.
Bye.